Welcome to this segment of English language for senior classes. Last week we discussed the essay writing, and I told you that there are 5 main types of essays, and the first one is, we said, is narrative essay. Second one, descriptive essay. Then the third one, explanatory essay and expository essay. Then the fifth one is argumentative essay. And we said we will naturally treat the narrative essay and the argumentative essay, because that is where you will get enough points that will give you up to 450 words. So in our discussion of the narrative essay, I gave you the format. We discussed the 3-part, 5-segment format or system. The 3 parts are the introduction, and you know that the introduction is naturally the source of the information you are treating, how you got the information. Or you go straight to the subject matter of the essay. And remember, the way you write the essay is the way you write letter writing. The difference is that the letter writing has addresses or address. And so, introduction, that is the first part. Then the second part is the body of the essay. Now, the body of the essay are written. When you pick 3 points and you discuss them fully, you will make enough mark that will give you a grade that will surprise you. So the third part is the conclusion. And in conclusion, most of the times is suggestion. If you are writing a story, it's a suggestion or the lesson that you have learned. Okay? So the 5 paragraph system, paragraph 1 is introduction. Paragraph 2, 3, and 4 are the main body of the essay, and you make sure that each paragraph, in each paragraph, you discuss one idea. Remember that the way to build your paragraph is write your topic sentence. That is, topic sentence is that sentence that is carrying the idea you want to discuss in that paragraph. Write your topic sentence in the first sentence or the first 2 sentences, and then go on to explain what you mean by that idea. Give illustration, exposition, discuss that idea. By the time you have discussed that idea fully, you must have, there's no way you will not get up to 150 words in that paragraph. So you go to the next paragraph, you pick another idea. Remember that your work must flow. So when you are moving from a paragraph to the another, you must use what we call connectives or link words. At times you call it transitional words. Something like when you have discussed an idea and you want to start another idea, you say in the next paragraph, you say, in fact, or you say, however, or you say, furthermore. So those are what we call link words. Or you can use in spite of, you can use nevertheless. And so you continue like that until the third paragraph, then the fourth paragraph. Now, in the fifth paragraph, that is where you draw your conclusion. For instance, last week, we used an accident I witnessed. You were asked to write on an accident I witnessed. And so when you have given 3 good ideas and you discussed them in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, then in paragraph 5, that is where you conclude. And in this case, your discussion in paragraph 5 advisably should be suggested. If you have written in any of the paragraphs that what caused the accident was potholes on the road, in paragraph 5 is where you will suggest to the government that the roads have to be rehabilitated, or if need be, there should be reconstruction, expansion of the roads. And then if you had said that what caused the accident was drunkenness on the part of the driver, that is where you will bring in your suggestion and ask the government to always get the road safety men at the park, especially at the gates, so that any driver that is leaving the park should be tested for alcohol. And if he tests positive, he should not be allowed to move the vehicle. Another driver should be used. So in this case, when you count the number of words you have written, it is in this paragraph 5, if you have not got enough words, the 450 words, there is where you add a little more. For instance, in the suggestion of road traffic, if you have written about 300, 350, or even 400 words, you can now, in paragraph 5, add an experience you have had. You say, the other time the road safety people stopped a vehicle and the driver didn't stop because he was drunk. However, after about 10-15 minutes, the road safety men were alerted that there has been an accident. And when they got there, it was that driver, and there was a loss of life. So you are strongly suggesting that road safety should be used. And another thing is this. Here is WAEC assessment of length of words. Before we go on, here are the assessments of length by WAEC. The first one is, if you are writing 13 words in a line, if you are writing 13 words per line, so what you will need to write, you need 35 lines to get to 450 words. If you are writing 12 words, if you are writing 12 words per line, what you have to write 38 lines. If you are writing 11 words in a line, so what you have to write 41 lines. If you are writing 10 words, if you are writing 10 words per line, so what you will have to write is 45 lines. If you are writing if you are writing 9 words per line, so what you have to write, you have 50 lines. If you are writing 8 words per line, what you have to write is 56 lines. Then if you are writing 7 words, if you are writing 7 words in a line, you know you will be writing 64 lines. Okay? So what you are expected to do is, when you have picked your question and you have gone through it, formed the picture. Remember, you formed the picture of of what you are about to write in your mind, and then you will jot them down on any part of your paper. Remember that the margins, the WAEC forbids you to write on any of the margins, because that's where the comments are made by the examiners. So you will pick a place, write the idea that comes to your mind, and when you have written them, you arrange them into 5 to get 5 paragraphs. Each idea should be a paragraph. One thing again, when we are marking WAEC, one very thing that drawing your plan does is, if the examiner is marking and he turns to the sheet and sees where you have made your plans, if there is anywhere you've gone against the plan you made, that is, you made a little bit of mistake, he might just neglect that, because your plan is also guiding his giving you marks. So it helps the student to score enough mark. So remember again that there are things that are not accepted by the exam body. For instance, if you are told to write a story which ends in a stitch in time saves 9, assuming you were given narrate a story that ends in a stitch in time saves 9. Once you go using animal names, you say once upon a time the lion was, it is not acceptable in WAEC. You don't discuss animal kingdom as your essay topic. The lion caught the leopard and the whatnot. You will score 0. No one is going to mark that. So avoid that. And remember what I taught you in the class. Don't ever use once upon a time to start your essay. It tells the examiner that you don't have anything to write about. So we will discuss the narrative essay, and I told you using an accident I witnessed, I gave you an idea of the introductory paragraph, and then the second paragraph, we discussed it. Now, one thing about narrative essay is that there are 6 types of that. So in the exam, you are given only about 2, so that you select one. Now, the narrative essay, the first one is writing of an imaginative story. That's the first one. The second one B, we call it travelogue. That is your traveling experience. Your traveling experience. And then the third one is news reporting. Then the fourth one is statement to the police, assuming there's burglary or fighting or whatnot, and you go to the police station and you write a statement. That write is narrative essay. Then the fifth one is social diary. Social diaries. Something like discussing wedding ceremony, funeral ceremony, and then the last one, which we have to treat if there is time, because you need it seriously, even after your WAEC. That's documentation of minutes of a meeting. Mind you, this S is mandatory, it must be there. It must be there. So, these are the narrative essays. Remember that you must add title to your essay. That's important. Absence of title in the narrative essay is penalized. Make sure you don't use any word that you are not familiar with. Okay? So we have discussed fully the narrative essay, and so I'll go on now to give you something which you will use. You write it, if you submit it, we'll look into it and make some corrections. So, for instance, if you have the topic, the question, retell a story which you have had or read. Okay, let's put it down. So, this is 2016 question. Okay, so here you will think, you picture the story you want to tell. Maybe somebody has an opportunity and he didn't utilize that opportunity, or he tried to utilize the opportunity, but on the way he derailed. Maybe money came into his hands and he didn't use it well. So you will be seeing how he was squandering the money. That's the picture you have in mind. How he was maybe going to beer parlor to spend money, buying beer for others, while what he has to do is there facing him. So in this case, one, you will give a title. And in this kind of essay, you can use the topic, the subject matter, as your title. You can use it as "A Stitch in Time Saves 9." That is your title. And when you are writing titles, remember that prepositions, you don't start them with capitals. Conjunctions, you don't start them with capitals. Articles, you don't start them with capitals. This is capital because it is the beginning of the sentence. Sentences must begin with a capital. And so, be careful, adverbs are not capitalized. So writing this way, which is what WAEC mostly wants, is very technical, so you have to be careful. Remember preposition, adverb, conjunction, articles, and pronouns are not capitalized. Don't forget that. Okay? So you must use a title to start your essay. Okay? So let's see. In this case, when you have written the title, how you should rewrite the plan you have made on your paper is like this. 1, introduction, and in the introduction, A, that is a title. B, this is optional, explain the adage. That is your number 1. Then, number 2 is the body of the essay. The body of the essay. So, you have the first one, paragraph 2. Paragraph 2. Remember that this is paragraph 1. So paragraph 2, you tell the story I'm giving you the plan you will use in writing this essay. Tell the story of the man whom you will use to provide your explanation So this might be He might be rich or poor. Rich or poor. Then 3, that is paragraph 3, tell how he came across, that's the first one. The second one, B, we call it travel log. Travel log. That is your traveling experience. Your traveling experience. And then the third one is news reporting. Then the fourth one is statement to the police, assuming there's burglary or fighting or whatnot, and you go to the police station and you write a statement. That is narrative essay. Then the fifth one is social diary. Social diaries. Something like discussing wedding ceremony, funeral ceremony, and then the last one, which we have to treat if there is time, because you need it seriously even after your WAEC. That's documentation of minutes of a meeting. Mind you, this S is mandatory, it must be there. It must be there. So, these are the narrative essays. Remember that you must add title to your essay. That's important. Absence of title in the narrative essay is penalized. Make sure you don't use any word that you are not familiar with. Okay? So we have discussed fully the narrative essay, and so I'll go on now to give you something which you will use. You write it, if you submit it, we'll look into it, and make some corrections. So, for instance, if you have the topic, the question, retell a story which you have had or read. Okay, let's put it down. So, and then paragraph 4, tell how he misused the lock. And so, five, discuss the lesson you have learned. Okay, we will now go into argumentative essay. We'll go into argumentative essay, and there you will, that's an interesting aspect of continuous writing. Okay? Remember, this class is for the senior, the most senior, SS2, SS3. Soon we will discuss with the SS1 students. They are senior too, but they still have a lot to go through. So, I hope you have taken down this, because I'm going to clean it so that we will go into argumentative essay. We will just introduce the argumentative essay, and so when next we come, we discuss it in full. Okay. We are talking of argumentative essay. Okay? Now, one thing, like I told you, the essay writing, letter writing, almost all of them are virtually the same. They are virtually the same. And here, you must give a title to the essay you are writing. For instance, if you were given, or if you are given to write on that polygamous family, or let's use monogamous family first. The monogamous family is more advantageous than the polygamous family. You can still use that as your title. Can you still use it and write polygamous and monogamous family is more advantageous than the polygamous family. That is, you know that the argumentative essay is trying to convince people or someone that your own idea is better than its opposite. Now, that is why when you are given a topic, you must make a stand. So here, when you have written your title, like I told you, the next thing is to start your argument, and remember your argument. This is a form of debate. You know what is debate? You do it. We always do it in the class. So you are debating. The difference is that you are debating not live, but on paper. So when you are writing, you will be writing it as if you are speaking to an audience. So argumentative essay is purely debating. And so before you start debating, you have to pay compliments. You greet the panel that are set up to judge your points. So what you do is, you start with, after writing title, you start with the chairman, the panel of judges. It depends on what you want to use. But I advise you, use more members of the setting so that you will get more words. The chairman, the panel of judges, the accurate timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, and then you add fellow students and my co-debaters. Remember, don't forget, there is nothing like debater or debaters. People use this, it is wrong. The right word is debaters. So beware of this, because if you do it, not only that it will be circled, it will be underlined. Anything that is underlined is penalized under expression, while everything that is underlined is penalized under mechanical accuracy. And so, when you have mentioned the panel, now you tell them your stand. I stand here to propose or oppose. You must make it a stand. There are two stands, you have to choose one. Either you are debating for or you are debating against. And you will make it very clear where you stand. And so, let's use the topic we used in the class sometime. We said that as a chief speaker in a debate, propose or oppose the motion that says the cavemen lived a happier life than the modern men. We discussed that a bit in the class before the COVID something caught up with the class. So if you are writing for that, if you are proposing, that is, you are supporting the argument that cavemen lived a happier life than the modern men do. There is where you say, excuse me, the chairman, the judges, the accurate timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, fellow students, either you say ladies and gentlemen or you say our guests, students, my fellow students, and my co-debaters. I stand here to propose the motion that says, you have made your stand known, to propose the motion that says the cavemen lived a happier life than the modern men did. Now, you must have had 3 points to discuss. You must have had 3 points to discuss. Now, maybe in your planning, you picked, your first point is security. Your second point is livelihood. The third point, maybe you picked the third point, you pick something like, let's say, longevity. That is length of life. So when you are writing, let's give you an example with this. When you are writing about security, you are arguing about security. What you have to do is, for you to get point, don't start discussing security immediately. Go to your opponents, think, what will my opponents discuss under security? Get their point and then destroy it. You get more marks. For instance, if you want to, they will tell you, you know that the opponents will say, in those days, life is not secured. That the cavemen, they don't have houses. That wild animals like lion and others, they feast on human beings. There was no security. So you will raise it. That your opponents will say that animals do this and do that. But let me put it to them that That period was the period that is more secured. That once the cavemen enter the cave, they use a very large stone to cover the opening to the cave, and no animal can shift it. And they will be there till morning. They come out again. But let me put it to them again that today there is nothing like security. When the armed robbers remember the family and decides to visit them, no matter the how you secured your house, no matter the degree of the burglary proof, you will be the one to go and open the key and the burglary proof for them. Otherwise, when they come in and they use their saw, electric saw, to cut off the burglary proof, they will make sure all lives in that family will be lost. So when you we were talking of security, and so you have shown that the cavemen were more secured than the modern men. These days, the modern men, what the kidnappers need to do is they trail you to the house. Once you are coming out, once you enter the gate, they will enter. They won't even allow you to go up. They will pick the person. So there is no security this time, as has been discussed. But let me tell you one thing. When you are using security, you might have two things involved. You might have a robbery, and then you might have a kidnap. So if you have these two, if because of exam situation, you didn't get more things, separate them. After discussing robbery, discuss kidnap or kidnapping differently. So you can use them as two different points. So when you are arguing or debating, make sure you try very much to convince. Use words like, I put it to them, or I put it to him. Use that very often. And so when we come next week, I'll give you more of the format of argumentative essay, especially how to conclude it. Okay? Thank you.